Mel, you're on.
Hello there, everybody. This is Mel Allen. Coming up on This Week in Baseball, fans rejoice with the crowning of divisional champions. A's okay.
It's so emotional for the fact that it was such a hard road to hoe this year. All the adversities that we had to overcome, the struggles, and here we are, you know, repeated.
Pins and needles, needles and pins. The Giants listened to learn their fate, and man, the outcome was worth the wait. So stay tuned, y'all, for This Week in Baseball. Brought to you by Kellogg's Raisin Squares, shredded wheat nutrition with taste.
Hello again, everybody, with Steve Stone and Dwayne Stats, Harry Carey back in Montreal. A Cardinal loss and a Cubs victory that's all over.
And with Greg Maddux on the mound against the Expos, the Cubs appeared on target. Back in the Windy City, Harry Carey's bar was where the fans gathered to cheer on the Cubs in their quest to clinch their second division title of the decade. Go Cubbies! And Ryne Sandberg was on the go in the sixth inning when Dwight Smith batted with one out and the Cubs already leading 1-0.
2-2. Looper into left. That's going to fall for a base hit. A big AstroTurf hop, and Sandberg will score to make it a 2-0 ball game.
With the Cubs leading, the scene in Chicago was pure pandemonium, especially after the Cub fans discovered that the St. Louis Cardinals had lost to Pittsburgh, dropping the pennant picture squarely on Greg Maddux' shoulders. But after Montreal rallied to tie the score, Cub fans mustered up some support. The Cubs responded in the eighth inning with a two-out base hit off the bat of Ryne Sandberg, the only everyday player remaining from Chicago's last division winner. The next batter was Dwight Smith, and manager Don Zimmer played his usual brand of aggressive baseball.
There he goes. There's a drive in the right field. He's on his way to third. It's fumbled out. Here he comes. He's going to try to score. Save. The Cubs have taken the lead.
And Cub fans sensed that a victory was at hand. They began a chant heard right across the land.
Let's go Cubs! Let's go Cubs! Let's go Cubs!
On the mound in the ninth to answer those rhythmic pleas, Mitch Williams.
One strike away from the division title. Look at the dugout. Everybody's on their feet. 1 ball, 2 strikes. The pitch. Cubs win the division! Cubs win the division! Cubs win the division! Fitzgerald is out on strike. Look at that scene on the field.
I wanted to just get a hit. I didn't care how pretty it looked. I just wanted to win a ball game.
Well, I know one thing, Harry. When we come in this clubhouse and even out on the field, I was kissed more times today than I've been kissed by my wife in 38 years.
Besides my wedding day, I can't think of a happier time in my life. This is unbelievable.
84, they said we were going to win. If we didn't win, we were going to choke. They said this team couldn't win, but we did.
Cubs win! Cubs win!
That's the best I've ever done in baseball was a tie in Boston. And then when we finally won the game.
Say no more, Don. The picture tells it all.
souvenir lineup now. Hey, don't forget little Willie. Program, names, numbers, and pitches here.
All gates are open. Please have your tickets ready.
We're going to win today. Yeah!
One reason for the Giants' winning ways this season has been the tremendous fan support they've received. They drew 2 million for the first time ever, and there were lots of reasons why.
To see Kevin Mitchell hit home runs, to see Will Clark get base hits, to see Matt Williams make a name for himself. It's been a great year.
The Giants capped off a great year indeed, yet they were still unable to clinch the pennant at home. So they packed their gear and headed for L.A. to face the Dodgers. But the Giants knew they were in for a fight from their arch rivals, a club rich in pitching tradition. A tradition that continued in the first 2 games of the series as L.A. held San Francisco to only 3 runs in 2 days. Tim Belcher blazed past the Giants in the finale, winning his 8th shutout, 1-0, and that completed the sweep. It marked the first time the Giants have been swept all season long, delaying their hopes for a clinch even longer. The only thing that remained for Roger Craig and his club was to wait and listen for the results of the Padres-Reds game in San Diego. All ears glued to the radio, since a Padres setback would clinch the division for San Francisco. Loyal Giants fans listened intently inside Dodger Stadium as the Padres and Reds battled into extra innings. And then the tide turned. And the good news finally arrived for the Giants.
And the pitch is hit well back into left field, and that ball is off the fence. On to score comes Winningham. On to second goes Davis. And here in the 13th inning, the Reds have taken a 2-1 lead.
2-1. When Gary Kempleton struck out in the bottom of the 13th, the celebration started.
Hey, baby!
All the guys were listening to the radio pretty intently, and tell you what, it feels just as good if we were on the field than we were off the field. Same feeling, jubilation, and it's as sweet as it was in '87. The only problem is we got a World Series to get to now instead of a playoffs like we did in '87.
I'll tell you one thing, you got to give San Diego credit. They played like hell, and it's one of the best efforts I've ever seen in my 40 years of baseball.
From the beginning of the year on, people were counting us down. They said we had too many old players, we were going to have too many injuries. And sure, we did have our share of injuries, but the character of this organization from top to bottom showed. People came in and picked us up when we needed it, both pitching, both infielders, outfielders hitting, and we put it all together, and with 160 games, we've clinched this thing. We're the best team in this division.
If I had to say one word about this ball club, it's 2 words: balance and character. This club has a lot of character, and I think you'll see it the rest of the way.
The Giants also issued a warning to their upcoming opponents in the playoffs, the Cubs.
Ain't nothing better than this. We'll see you in Chicago. We're the best. We're going to prove it. Woo! Yeah!
Now, this week's quiz brought to you by today's Chevy truck. Oakland's Mark McGwire became the second player ever to belt 30 or more homers in his first 3 seasons. Can you name the first to do it?
This feeling right now, you know, having overcome all the adversity that we come, including the problem about repeat. Everybody said, no, you can't repeat. Nobody repeats anymore. And once we got that last out and everybody went out there, it's like, wow, we did it. We're done. I mean, we repeated. It's just a feeling. It's so emotional for the fact that it was such a hard road to hoe this year. All the adversities that we had to overcome, the struggles, and here we are, you know, repeated.
The A's became the first team to win back-to-back division championships since the 1985 Royals. A special night indeed, as Oakland never lost sight of their objective. Mike Moore allowed only 1 Texas Ranger base hit through 7 innings for his 19th win, and Jose Canseco provided the offensive pop.
There's one that's going to be too deep. Somebody in the bleachers. There she goes. Home run. Oh, baby, did he get that one.
Well, when you want to try to capture your second consecutive divisional title, this is a way to start a ball game.
The champagne was prepared to pop as Oakland led 5-0 in the ninth. Gene Nelson on the mound to apply the finishing touches, and the A's were in anticipation of a celebration.
This could be it. Mark McGwire carries it to first and embraces Gene Nelson. The A's are Western Division champions for the second year in a row.
It's worth every bit of everything that goes into it. Think about the hard work, the dedication, the commitment, the good and the bad. It's worth every bit of it to have the feeling of being a champion.
We had a challenge set to us in spring training, and that was to repeat. And that's the toughest thing to do, because that's the toughest part of the whole thing to do, because you have to do that over a 162-game schedule.
This has not been an easy year for us. We've fought through adversity. Every team that we play, I mean, they're sky high to play us. They wanted to beat us from the start of the season until this part of the season, and we've had to play good to win this division. We've had to play better this year than we did last year, and we've had to do it with guys, all 24 guys on the roster. So to me, this is more of an accomplishment in winning than last year was.
Well, they said it couldn't be done, and we're living proof that it can. So all I can say is if you got a dream, it can happen. It happened for us.
The pennant battle in the American League East included interesting plot twists and script developments as the Tigers battle the Blue Jays.
Here's a shot to left field. Base hit. Here comes Mosby. Here comes Mookie. The Jays lead it 2-0.
Kelly Gruber helped Toronto to a lead, but Sparky Anderson's Tigers battled back from a 3-1 deficit in the ninth inning. Doug Strange was hit by a pitch from Dwayne Ward. Then Tom Henke was brought in by Cito Gaston to face Gary Pettis.
Base hit up the middle. This game is going to be tied. Unbelievable.
With the score 3-3, Detroit's clutch-hitting shortstop Alan Trammell led back.
Little looper out into center field. This game is history. The Tigers have won it. Oh, no.
The very next night, the Blue Jays turned the tables on Detroit as Dave Stieb allowed only 1 run in 7 innings, striking out 7. Stieb left the game with a 3-run lead, but Toronto flagged down 5 more runs in the top of the ninth for reliever Tom Henke. And unlike the night before, Tom slammed the door, and the Blue Jays won 8-1. Over in Milwaukee, meanwhile, Baltimore kept pace as Mickey Tettleton blasted his 26th home run of the year in a 4-0 win over the Brewers, setting the stage for this weekend showdown for the Eastern Division Championship between the Orioles and the Blue Jays. Next on to Fenway Park in Boston, Wade Boggs smashed 4 hits and 5 at-bats against the Yankees to pass the 200-hit mark for the 7th straight time. He also broke Lou Gehrig's Major League record for 200 hits and 100 walks, doing it for the 4th straight year. On the very same night, Dwight Evans collected a milestone of his own. The Red Sox veteran belted his 20th home run of the year, the 9th consecutive season that Evans has hit 20 or more homers. All right, Dwight. And a Red Sox reliever wrapped up his career by retiring. Bob Stanley entered the Boston scene in 1977. The Steamer spent all of his 13 seasons with the Sox, collecting a club record 132 saves. But Bob will be forever linked with a fateful moment that occurred during Game 6 of the 1986 World Series.
And it's going to go to the backstop. Here comes Mitchell to score the tying run, and Ray Knight is at second base.
The final outcome was one the Sox would rather forget. Boston also announced that they would not renew the contract of Jim Rice. The aging slugger wants to play for 1 more year, but rather than pay him $2.4 million next season, the Sox optioned to allow Big Jim to move on. Now the answer to this week's quiz, brought to you by today's Chevy truck. The first player to hit 30 or more homers in his first 3 seasons, the Oakland A's Jose Canseco.
Hi, this is Vida Blue. I'm inviting all the fans to watch This Week in Baseball and watch my wedding on tape at Candlestick Park.
And with best man Willie McCovey at his side, former A's and Giants hurler Vida Blue said, "I do." Matrimony on the mound, baseball style.
I proposed to my now fiance at the Old Timers game in Oakland, which I was a participant of. And she accepted only she would call herself having a little fun. And she said only if we would get married at a stadium. And of course, having asked her at the Oakland Coliseum, which I played for the A's, I thought it'd just be fitting to get married at Candlestick Park, which is also where I played. So I'm always trying to share myself and keep everybody happy.
It is appropriate that we have the marriage celebration between Vida and Peggy at Candlestick Park on the mound with the fans of the Giants.
20,000 witnesses applauded a marriage that figures to be true blue.
Vida and Peggy, you are now husband and wife, and you can kiss.
The former pitcher delivered a wet one, a heartfelt kiss, and the bluebirds of happiness rode off in baseball bliss. Halfway across the country at Chicago's Wrigley Field, Cub fans proposed that the United States Post Office was engaged in an unpostmarked pickup.
There's a shot deep to left, way back, kiss it goodbye. It's a fair ball and a home run for Andre Dawson. It's across the street, and the scramble is on.
And it looked like the mailman got it. Andre Dawson delivering the mail, and the mailman getting the baseball.
When the ball was hit, I saw my friend, and he asked me, he said, "What is you doing?" I said, "I come to catch a home run." And as soon as I said it, boom, here come the ball over the fence. I saw the man scramble for it. I saw the ball kick loose, so I figured I had a chance to go get it. So I went for it. I kind of used the left forearm to keep them back, and I gave it a slight kick, and it bounced back to me.
A post-haste getaway and an airborne courier.
Nice going. I'll tell you, you got some vertical leap, I'll tell you that.
Been practicing for a long time. I've been on TV a whole lot interviews. I was on the radio live yesterday. A couple of TV stations couldn't catch up with me.
And you better not mess with the U.S. mail.
Yes, sir. They're always on the ball. And speaking of extra special deliveries, outfielder Brad Cummins has finally come into his own this season, belting 8 homers in a part-time role with the Cleveland Indians. If you recall, there was a time when Brad was considered a top prospect for the Atlanta Braves after being a top draft choice right out of high school. In fact, Cummins was built up to be another Dale Murphy, a mighty big comparison to live up to.
Got to look at the Murphy. He's a great guy. He's a tremendous ball player, but he's a tremendous person too. So he just, whenever you need a little help, he's always there to give it to you.
I don't really think it hurt me personally. That's a great guy to be compared to. I think anybody would like that, but I don't really like to compare people to other people. Basically, everybody has their own identity and personality and the way they play the game, and it was a nice compliment at the time, but I didn't think of it anything more than that, really.
Cummins spent the first 8 years of his career in the Braves organization, and despite great success in the minors, his major league accomplishments were few and far between. In 1985, his only previous full season in the majors, he hit only 4 homers. But in the most recent stretch with the Indians, Brad may have finally opened some eyes. And at age 28, his big league career may have finally just begun.
One thing, I learned patience a little bit more. I don't get so frustrated as I did when I was younger. I'm more mature and can handle the different types of situations a lot easier.
He certainly proved his determination, all right. And in one game against the Baltimore Orioles, he pursued one fly ball plumb over a wall.
He drives it to deep left center field. Back goes Kmitz to the warning track. Leaps it. He has it. He falls over the fence. Kmitz fell over the fence as he made the catch.
Gotta be a homer.
It's a home run. He made the catch, but since he left the ballpark, it's a home run.
I got a good read on it right from the start and got a good jump and just went up and I had the ball pretty secure when I was up over the top of the wall, and I tried to slow my momentum down, but I just couldn't do it. To me, it was probably about the most perfect feeling play you can have.
Well, it certainly grades an A for effort. Now, a special This Week in Baseball tribute to a good friend, Yogi Berra, who retired as the Houston Astros coach to become their advisor. Berra wore a uniform as a player, coach, and manager for 42 years. Brilliant on the field as a Yankee and at putting the game into perspective with simple eloquence.
I always did say it beats working. And it's nice to be out here. You're out in the fresh air and it's great.
Next week on This Week in Baseball, full speed ahead to the playoffs as four clubs get ready to bang it out for a chance to meet in the 1989 World Series.
That's all for now, folks. See you next week on This Week in Baseball.